joy, excitement, happiness, fulfillment. Now, those are words we don't even think of in 3D. Does this make sense? Yeah. So what I would like to propose is that what's available to us is unknown. Unknown to us, really unexperienced before. You're so pretty with your smile, smiling up at me. And so that requires us to leap way beyond our rational minds or our current perspective of what's really going on, because what we have to do is open up to the limitless potential of things that, what I would say, vibrate in harmony with happiness, joy, excitement, fulfillment, optimism, inspiration, divine love, divine joy. And what are those things? We don't even know because we haven't even experienced them. There's no such thing as that on planet Earth up until now. So we're creating it. Now here's the only way that I know of to create it. But here's the good news, it's actually already created. But we also have to simultaneously line up with it. So we're creating it, but it's already been created. So what it really is we have to line up. How do we line up with it?
Frequency.
Yes, exactly. How do you line up with frequency?
Meditate. Start resonating.
Okay, meditate is a little too generic, but you're right. What did you start resonating? That's true. What does that mean?
Means you can align yourself with what you see or what you would like.
Yes, you're all absolutely right, exactly. But here's what I'm going to say, just for terminology, so we can get clear. How we line up with it is that we have to create the experience inside of ourselves first. So yes, it means closing your eyes. Yes, it might mean meditating, absolutely. What's that?
Think about it as a source.
Yes, thinking, because thoughts are electric, but they're not that powerful, but they are powerful. Yes, it's going to be a magnetic experience, but we're creating it inside. So we actually have to learn to cultivate the feeling of excitement. How does it feel to be so excited inside your body? And how does it feel to be so optimistic? And what does it feel like to be so enthusiastic and to expect things with so much glad expectation and enthusiasm? And can we even hold that? We don't even know how to hold that in our bodies. But we have to start playing with those kinds of energy. Or maybe it's just peace. That's okay. That's good too, right? What does peace really feel like? What does it really feel like? And then when you start to be able to contain that in your body, and you understand we're awakening it from within us, and when we start to be able to hold that frequency, those kinds of frequencies, those ranges of frequencies, because those are the anchors. See, an anchor point used to be, I stand on the earth, I'm walking, I go to work, I pay my bills, I have my government to tell me what to do, my doctor tells me what to do, I take my supplements, I eat my sad diet, standard American diet, which is completely sad. All right, well, that's just the old reality. If I don't follow the laws, I get arrested, okay, all that stuff, that's not even an anchor anymore. You can't even base your reality in that. It's not reality anymore. Everybody else thinks it is. Everybody else walking on earth think it is. It's not reality. The reality is my frequency of my vibration and my inner state of being, my inner state of happiness, health, well-being, joy, peace, harmony, love. That is my frequency. And now I'm going to ground that into the earth because there's a crystal grid inside the earth. You guys understand the crystals? There's a crystal grid in the earth. This crystal grid has been planted in the earth by seeds. A lot of the stuff you're going to hear might make no sense. That's okay. Just let it take it in. Star seeds, star family races from the stars grid these crystals into the earth. And we can anchor into them, but these contain codes, frequencies. And so we start to cultivate the feeling within us, awaken it from within us, and drop it down into the earth, and let it gravitate into the earth. And then the earth with the crystals and all this consciousness starts to come up into our bodies. Our bodies get awakened, vibrating this out, this beautiful, whatever it feels right to us. And then this starts to radiate out from us and emanate in and through and around us. And we share it with others because we're just in so much happiness and joy. We can't help but do that because it's who we become. And that is the reality we start to anchor into. This is 5D and beyond. Because 5D is a physical reality. You understand? It's physical. But it's based on a vibrational frequency that has nothing to do with what we've been living in. Life sucks, everything sucks, and then you die. That's the old reality. That's 3D. What's the Anyone have any of those experiences these days called, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
What's the purpose? Well, congratulations. Because that means you're no longer going to settle for the mediocrity that we have been settling for since the birth of this humanity. This mediocrity. Just get on the hamster wheel, pay your taxes, and die. And then you get trapped, and don't even go down there. You get trapped in a matrix. You get sucked in by these so-called lords of karma. Just go back in. Oh, let's wipe your memory wiping. Go back in. And we'll continue to suck the life force out of you for another 20,000 years, right? That's the matrix of reality. Get sucked in there. That's what's going on in 3D. But welcome to the birth of humanity. We have to get ourselves out of that, right? And there is no one who saves you but healers, intuitives. We can help you to up-level your frequency, raise your vibration, expand your state of consciousness. But the objective is it's going to happen from inside. It's a self-contained environment of elevating the frequencies within the body and then understanding you're anchoring into this new reality with Mother Earth, this new Earth based in crystalline consciousness. Now, what is a crystalline consciousness, by the way? Does it sound like any name you know? Christ. Okay, well, Jesus Christ's name wasn't Jesus Christ. He had crystalline consciousness. He had the Christ consciousness. This is what it is. He knew. He already fully ascended. Okay, I don't want to make this a religious thing because it's not. It's to understand that we all have this potential to activate. Now, by the way, it's also all stored up where? Where is it stored? Where? In our DNA. I didn't hear what you said. But it's in our DNA. So the key code, there are key codes. I don't know if this is my topic tomorrow or what. I'm just flowing with it. But there are key codes in our DNA. Now, these key codes, I didn't even access the key codes. I've been activating dormant DNA in people and animals for over 10 years now. And when I first started doing it, I didn't even know really what was in the DNA. I was following guidance. I was following what I got from downloads. I'm not going to go too far off here, but yeah, I did have like what you call I call it an induction experience. Some people will call it an abduction experience, but mine was totally benevolent, and it was about, I was basically given codes. And these codes were downloaded. It took me years to integrate them, but at first it was just activating dormant DNA. That's it. We know that scientifically. We know it factually now. Even the science has caught up with that there are 10 strands beyond the first 2, and those 10 strands are dormant. And that energy, sound, and vibration can activate them. That is fact. We can all agree because a scientist has said it. Not that scientist, because a scientist says something makes it fact, but in this case it does. So when we activate this dormant DNA, certain things start to come online. And as it comes online, more of our knowledge, our wisdom, our intuitive abilities, our connection, our unity with one another, our vibrational frequency with the fifth dimensional reality, this all starts to come online because it's within us. It can't be taken away, even though they've tried. But even in deeper, beyond these DNA strands, within them are codes. And some of the codes are corrupted. But those are typically only in the first 2 strands, right? So we want to clear out the corrupted and activate the pure potential that is perfect, pure, and part of the original blueprint for humans and animals. They have original blueprints. These original blueprints do not contain sickness and illness. Those are corrupted codes in the first 2 strands of DNA. That's where you're told diabetes runs in your family or cancer runs in your family. That's corrupted codes in the DNA, and it can be cleared out of the DNA. And simultaneously, the other 10 strands, and there are way more than 12, but but we know we can rest right here. There's at least 10 more physical strands that within them there's codes, and these codes have, what do they have in them? Now it's warmer in here. Potentials. What are some of the potentials?
Unlimited.
Yeah, they're unlimited. We don't even know, but we do know some of them. So we know that some of them, as I've mentioned, it means we don't have to get sick. Sickness is now a choice. Does the bulk of humanity know that? No. But that is the truth. It'll become more and more obvious that all sickness is a choice, which nobody's going to choose. Okay, aging is nothing more than an expectation that's coded into the DNA through the lineage and the ancestors. You understand? You can pull that corrupt programming. When it's pulled, aging becomes a choice. It's hard to believe. It's revolutionary, because this is what happens when we get to unlimited potential. There's so much more. Everyone's psychic. I mean, the age of giving, if someone says, guru, run for the hills, because you are the guru. There's no one external to you, really. Okay, we're all facilitators and teachers to one another and healers for one another, because it's all within us. It's a question of how much have you activated and cleared out. Does this make sense? Yeah. Okay, so this is where we're going. I could talk forever, but I love questions, and I feel like if I go on, I would love to entertain your questions if you feel like you would like to ask. Or comments. Yes, go ahead.
I'm wondering if I missed something here. How do we wake up? Dormant.
Yes. Yeah, okay, I didn't teach you that. That's good. So, okay, first understand that awakening the dormant DNA in the initial stages requires somebody, the way that DNA is awakened is through high frequency, light frequency, sometimes sound, or some form of energy, of a lighter frequency that, in a sense, this for terminology, makes this dormant DNA wake up. Like if you're in a sound sleep and you need an alarm clock, or you need someone to push you and say, get up, right? So that's kind of how it works, and at least initially, until you have enough of it activated where you start to know how to do it for yourself. So you work with healers, lightworkers. This is what I do for a living, part of what I do, small part, to activate it, at least initially, until you have enough turned on where you start realizing, yeah, I think I can do this. Like, I get it. I know what to do, because it's within you. So meditation is a doorway, but in and of itself, it won't do it, because you can meditate till the cows come home. It's not going to activate the DNA, but it's a doorway. It's an access point. Make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah.
How you pull out the corrupt DNA?
Okay, you have to know, first it has to be identified.
Oh.
This is one of the most challenging parts about the law of attraction movement. Who's into law of attraction? Come on, you guys know you all are. All right, law of attraction wants you to just be happy and focus on the positive all the time. You almost like ignore the negative. But if you ignore a cancer growth in the physical reality, it doesn't matter how positive you are. If you're ignoring something that needs your attention, it can grow out of control. I'm not saying that's always the case, but because positivity and all of that really is true. Law of attraction's real. It's a real law. What I'm saying is that you sometimes have to identify. So let me explain some of these corrupted codes. Aside from aging in general, sickness has got many, many layers. Let's talk about some of these codes. So you don't have to do this, you don't have to raise your hand, but we have Democrats and Republicans, right? We have Red Sox and Mets, right? Okay, this is, you could go on and on. Men and women, people awakening, people unconscious. Okay, all of this is division, yeah? There's actually a program in the DNA called divide and conquer. Now, nobody knows that, but if you've ever interacted with a person who's a vehement Republican and someone else who's a vehement Democrat, you'll see them go at it. You can just witness it like, wow, this is like, why can't we just agree? You like green olives, I like black olives. I like green olives and black olives. I just love olives, but like whatever, to each his own, right? But we can't have that. When you've got two opposing sides, that's divide and conquer, and that is actually a program now divide and conquer plays out in a lot of ways. But you can't really be in unity, which is 5D. You can't be in peace, love, and joy 24/7 and then use that as your anchor point if you've got this massive divide and conquer program running unconsciously. And understand these programs, they're like computer programs. If you've got a virus on your computer, you have to get the computer cleared. Make sense? Okay, that's just one program. Oh my goodness, I could go on for a long time about the programs, but the way you identify them is partially through consciousness like this. You have to be around people who know what they are. And you start hearing and learning about them, and you start feeling into your own truth. Because, you know, no one can really lie to you. When you know the truth somewhere within you, you're like, huh, that's interesting. Wow, right? So you start to be around people who are sharing this stuff. That's why we come to expos like this, because it helps us to awaken about these things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like genetic
Yeah.
DNA.
So, okay, here, who has something in their genetic lineage? Somebody said something today about, what did you say that someone else just said?
The reconnected feeling?
No. Give me something in your genetic lineage.
Height.
What is it?
Height.
Okay, that according to you is genetic? So, I can do height, but it's a harder example because it's not considered to be a dis-ease. But nonetheless, if your father was tall and your father's father was tall, or if your mother had diabetes and your mother's mother had, or someone said another one, okay, this is in the genetic lineage. It's passed down. Now, why is this passed down? Because the first two strands of DNA are storing up the history of the ancestors, yes? So a mother says to her daughter, all the men in our family are tall. And the father says to his son, we're very tall. And you don't know where it began. So the son takes it on, and he's like, I'm going to grow up and be tall like my dad. And then he has a son, and he passes it down to the next son. And the son takes it on. We're all tall. It's a belief system that gets encoded.
But also the medical, they always ask for your medical history of your...
Yeah, but that's only this lifetime. It isn't only this lifetime. You're correct.
Yeah.
You are 100% correct. But understand the way patterns get written into the DNA are from belief systems that are passed down through generations. So I will give you an example of mine. In my family lineage, I remember growing up, my father said, well, we don't have cancer, thank God. But we've got diabetes. And he would say it like, we've all got it. That was his belief because his father had diabetes. Now, I never had diabetes. You know what's interesting? One of my dogs did. And this is where I learned it. Because in order to heal her, I had to locate whatever it was within her that was going on. So I could identify the diabetes. Now, in order for me to heal the diabetes, I understand that the energy of diabetes and the belief systems associated with diabetes were passed down from generation. I never took it on myself, but I believed it nonetheless. And so my dog took it on because I have an agreement to heal it through the lineage. Now, what is diabetes as an example? It's a belief that there's no sweetness in life. I have no sweetness in my life. I cannot regulate my own happiness, my own sweetness, my own joy. I have no ability within myself. Can you see this? Can you understand this? So it got passed down from generation to generation. I was where the buck stopped because I always knew I'm not having that. But because I still carried the energy of it without the belief system, my dog still experienced it because she's in my environment. Can you see this? Have I lost anyone?
No.
Okay.
I just want to ask because there's also a lot of things that we don't know about, right? I have done genetic testing. I know, for example, an MTHFR mutation. I don't
Okay.
have a belief system around that. I wouldn't have known if I did that.
Okay,
It's
so-
affecting a metabolic process, right?
Yes.
So there's a lot of that happening too that we don't know about. So how do you explain that part?
You got genetic testing because you have a belief that the genetic reality of the physical reality can tell you the truth about who you are. But somewhere in your unconscious that you're not conscious of, there's a belief that I can't regulate my own metabolism.
There isn't that belief.
Well, you're not conscious of it. Because if you have this disposition, it showed up in your own genetics. How do you think something shows up in your genetics? I'm not engaging with you because you can either choose to understand or not. That's your choice. What I'm saying as a matter of fact is that things show up in our genetics because we take on belief systems. Here's what happens. We take on a belief. We're told something, maybe not us personally, even as children, maybe in another parallel reality, in another lifetime. We're told something, we believe it, the mental impresses upon the emotional creates a physiological response in the body makes a record, it's stored in the DNA. The DNA can be genetically tested and it will reveal it. Now, if you're not aware of it, that just means you're unconscious of it. But it showed up in your genetic testing. Therefore, it's there. Therefore, somewhere there was an impression.
I can see it in my parents and I can see it in my grandparents. You're saying that possibly all of them, everyone, had the same belief about their metabolics.
Yes. And even if they didn't, every one of them had it somewhere in the lineage, it was passed down. So, for example, the twins thing. Let's go to twins. Why are twins? People sometimes believe that twins are every other generation. How does that happen? It's told, oh, you won't have twins, but your kids might have twins. Now, this is just a belief. It's not actually true. You see, we're not realizing how we create our reality. And this is just the physical. We're just talking in a way physical. But we're taking on these truths, we believe them, we integrate them into our consciousness, we have an emotional experience that connects them, the body responds physiologically through energy and vibration, and it stores up the record in the DNA. That's what I'm saying. So when we're moving from 3D into 5D, which is an evolutionary process known as what?
Ascension.
Ascension, yes. As we are evolving and awakening, we must become conscious of how we created our reality. Only if we take full responsibility. You've heard this before. So those of us who have a hard time with this may be still resonating. For example, here's a program that could interfere with what I'm saying, with the receiving of what I'm saying. Victim consciousness. Because if you want to remain a victim, I'm not saying you, I'm saying a person. If we want to remain a victim, we will immediately say, I didn't create that. I didn't do it. Well, then you get to be a victim. And if there's a victim program running in the unconscious, the victim doesn't want to take responsibility because the victim's a victim. Have to clear the victim programming out. Does this make sense?
Yes.
I realize I'm going through really fast here, but it's...
So does that have to do with contracts when you come into this world and you're aware of a contract and...
Yes.
Okay.
So we make contracts and agreements too. Why does a baby get born? This is going to be a tough one to swallow. Why does a baby get born with a terminal illness? Contract.
Yeah.
He came in, he's not depositing it into his unconscious. He's not being told as a baby, you have diabetes, or you have this, or you have Parkinson's, or whatever. Let's go to Parkinson's next. He's taking something on from the family lineage because he knows in his purity he can help them all to address it, and somehow through the process, they're working through the issues, healing and resolving it. Because every illness is simply a call for consciousness, you understand? But in our third dimensional reality, we have chosen victimhood in this example. All right, let's talk about Parkinson's. There's another easy one. I'll take your question next. Parkinson's. I've worked with a lot of Parkinson's people with a lot of success. This is what it is, right? Can't stand up, can't sit down. My dopamine is off. It's a brain imbalance, a neurochemistry imbalance. So we can heal it on a physical level, in a sense, by supplementing the diet with foods that are not published in the Western medical. In 3D reality, it's a slow kill process. Third dimensional reality is based on slowly killing people and animals. So somebody in power can feed and suck off that energy, drain the energy, whether it's money, finances, wealth, happiness, joy, whatever the energy is that they want, right? Through a slow kill process. That's a hard pill to swallow. But in 5D, in order to evolve, we have to look where we created it, right? So Parkinson's, on a certain level, can be supplemented. The diet can supplement to restore balance. That's not going to be found in Western medicine. They don't do supplements. for the most part. And then energetically, what's at the emotional, mental component of it? I don't know if I should go forward or back. I've been so criticized. I don't know what the right choice is. I'm so criticized. I don't know if I can stand up on my own because someone's always doing it for me or taking care of me, or I have to take care of everyone else, so I need someone to take care of me. Can you see that does this make sense for anybody, or am I too far out there?
No.
Making sense?
Yeah.
If we do not link our issues, and I'm right now just covering physical, we can go into money, we can go into love, we can go into every area of our existence. If we don't start to link it in to what our thoughts and our beliefs are, even those we may be completely unconscious of, because we know if you're not meditating every day or regularly, that at least 90% of the brain is unconscious. For people who don't meditate, they haven't access to anything unconscious. So we know 90% is unconscious. So that means you wouldn't be conscious of this stuff. I'm saying you, but I mean all of us. Make sense? So we're having to get access to that unconscious aspect of ourselves to see where we created it, whatever it is, even if it's poverty, even if it's a lack of love, lack of happiness, lack of joy, all those things, because they're all rooted in third dimension. So we're uprooting all these old belief systems that are unconscious to us. By the way, who saw me on the panel this morning? All right, not too many. So what we're talking about in the age of Aquarius, who's an astrology person? Not too many? All right, but the age of Aquarius is, they have their heads in the clouds, they're very smart, but it's like they're disconnected from the depth of the emotion, right? And the role of an Aquarius is to somehow access that water that they have, that emotion, and find their own wound so that they can heal and resolve. That is Aquarius. I don't know if all Aquarians would agree with that, but it is true. So the point that I'm saying is we're in that age. We now have to go within and find out, how did we create this mess of 3D? How do we create our own misery and suffering? Clear all that, uproot it, turn it back into love, forgiveness, and peace, and then re-anchor in some higher truths. Higher, clearer, purer truths. This is making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Who else? Yes.
Bipolar and schizophrenia.
I'm sorry.
The mental
Okay. Oh, I love these ones. Yeah, so bipolar and schizophrenia. Okay, these are two different things of extremes, okay? We have a law of polarity that will bring us, there's universal laws at play, but they're still governing 3D and they still govern 5D, yeah? So, first of all, let's do schizophrenia. It's an easy one. Schizophrenia is almost always, what's at the root of it is an entity possession. So, what does that mean? We have things in the non-physical world. Over here in 3D, all it is 5 senses. What you see, touch, taste, feel, that's real. This chair is real. Everything physical is real. If it's not physical, it's woo-woo. Yeah? So, in the 5th dimension, in the 3rd dimensional reality that we've been living in, nobody believes in entities. And if you start talking about demonics, they think you're crazy, nutso, possessed, or something. Right? They don't even give any credence to that. It's not even addressed in that reality. This is why it's not curable. Because they won't even face the fact that there's things beyond the physical that they don't know about. So you have to be willing to understand that beyond the physical, that which we can't see, touch, taste, feel with our physical reality does exist. And once you start to acknowledge that, you can recognize that a non-physical being could actually sabotage a physical being and somehow gain possession of their consciousness. So now you've got multiple personality disorders and schizophrenia because one being's here talking here and another being's here. That's at the root of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but how would you be able to eliminate those forces that the schizophrenic person doesn't have control over?
For me, if I was working with someone like that, which that's not very easy because those people end up in a Western medical system that is not designed to heal overall. It's not. For me, that would be something about clearing entities. It's actually way easier than we realize. This is the beauty of 5D. Everything's easier. It's so easy, we can't even believe it's so easy. We can't believe it because we've been wired into this program that everything's so hard.
Another question.
I didn't get to your bipolar. Do you want to hear that?
But just one more question on schizophrenia. The person that has it and that person is not on Western medication, how would you be able to assist that person to at least be balanced?
Yeah, clear the entity.
The only way I can work with a person that I know of is, well, there's two ways. Either the legal guardian has to give consent for them, if there's a legal guardian who is conscious, because I'm not allowed to override someone's free will. Or else, this is what I do in my sacred healing circles. We do this all the time. Lightworkers and wayshowers and starseeds, we get together in groups. We affect the global collective. You understand? We're working with the quantum field. We're changing for the collective. If we weren't doing our work for the last 20 years, we would have already had World War III. That wasn't going to happen because we raised the frequency. But so what would I do? I'd work for the collective. It has to be something I'm part of, because I can't affect someone else's free will. I have to honor the law of free will. That still exists. So I hope that it's a short answer that you need a longer answer. But.
Bipolar, if you can touch on that, please. Thank you.
All right, so bipolar is typically one of two things. And then I would love to go to things that are non-medical, because this is not just about medical healing stuff, right? I mean, whatever you guys want. I tried to open the floor. But so if you understand all forms of depression, bipolar is where the human's soul, their higher self and their spiritual aspect of them is going in this direction, so to speak, okay? We can put our brains around this. Towards the light, happiness, joy, love. And their human egoic self is saying, I have to do this. I'm on the hamster wheel of life. And they're polarizing themselves. And every once in a while, they get a glimpse. Oh my God, this is so wonderful. But this is where their frequency resolves. And then they drop back down into their density. So they've polarized themselves. They know this is the light. They know this is their joy. But it's so extreme because then they don't take the action in a way that they need to be happy. They are extreme. Does this make sense? Yeah. The other aspect of bipolar, some cases, for those of us who are highly empathic and highly sensitive, I was labeled with bipolar. By the way, I can see it in the numbers. I always know bipolar because it's easy. I do numerology too. That's just a little adjunct. I don't even really need it. I do it for fun. But you can see it in the numbers. Anyone on a 19, born on the day of 19? Have you had issues with bipolar? 1 and 9. It's not really true. Your job is to take the 1 and the 9 and make it a 10. That's not so extreme. You have to bring those aspects of you into harmony. Okay, but nonetheless, that the other part of bipolar and also all kinds of emotional, mental stuff is really when, if you're, aside from what I just mentioned, if you're so empathic and sensitive and you haven't learned to work with energy, because in this reality, energy's woo-woo. If you don't really learn how to manage energy and really understand how energy works and how to navigate your own field of energy, you will be empathically so sensitive that you could take on anything and everything around you, in a sense. You could become an unbalanced, emotional, energetic, fragmented, all over the place kind of being. And that could also be linked in. Does that make sense? Those are the two most common aspects of, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so switching away from the medical for the moment. So you mentioned the idea that, you know, somebody could be wrong with a child because of some contract or agreement they've made. So just in terms of how your thoughts are around how karma would work. So somebody, you know, let's say, for example, a child is born with a heart defect. And in the past, that child would have died and maybe fulfilled on whatever their contract.
Well, let me just say first.
But in today's reality, let's say a doctor can fix that and the child can live a full and normal life. So is the doctor sort of abrogating the contract? Should you let
No. Everything. You're touching on a lot of things. First, you're identifying that experience with karma, which isn't actually accurate.
Okay.
And then the second thing you're doing is you're asking about sacred contracts, which are very real. So sacred contracts are true and real, and they can also be changed, re-agreed to, ripped up, torn up, all kinds of things. But understand that the contracts ultimately are always serving a higher and better purpose. So contracts are usually involved, and if the contract is that the child will be healed, so it shall be. And if the contract is that the child will die, so also it shall be. But can you change that? Yes, absolutely. You can change everything. I just want to say there's not one single thing in the world that's not healable. I know I believe, I'm going to venture and go beyond belief. I have a knowing that I know the cure to every disease. Because I've accessed consciousness. This is my thing. This is my thing I'm interested in. I'm interested in going into the unknown realm. I am so bored of chakras. I am so bored of angels. I love them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I want something juicy and new, don't you? I've been in the spiritual community for over 20 years. I don't really need to learn about another chakra. In fact, in 5D, you don't even need them. How's that for mind blown? So my point, to get back to your story of those three key areas, is I'm interested in accessing the unknown realm, translating it in a way that I can serve humanity in the evolutionary process. And I know that that means I must access information that's so unknown to us that it does seem a little out there. But what if all of this is true? And it is. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, we can heal every single disease. Now, when that really catches on, when you can link in every disease, lack and limitation, poverty, all of those things, to belief systems that can be cleared out from, like a program on a computer, be cleared out from the unconscious, the records of it can be cleared from the DNA, dormant potentials that are completely all about healing and living your highest and best life, in the highest and best ways possible, that can be activated. What kind of future is that for us? To me, that's freaking awesome. And by the way, I just want to say again, this includes our animals, our beloved animals. This includes Mother Earth. Do you know we did a sacred government healing circle where we called from the non-physical world a new form of plankton that eats plastic? Do you know that mushrooms clear the air? Do you see how many mushrooms there are popping up everywhere lately? Isn't it fascinating? Humans are making a difference by creating things in the non-physical world, that there's a new form of plankton that can eat toxic chemicals and plastic, and it's totally benevolent, and it's in the oceans. Now that's a real thing you create with your consciousness, but it already exists. See, but over here there's no solutions. The world's coming to an end. Okay, go ahead.
What about a Down syndrome baby? Saying that can be cured also?
Everything can be cured.
What is the purpose of
A Down syndrome baby, there's also multiple reasons. And then I was thinking we could do like a quick healing for everybody. I don't know if I have time because I'm running out of time now.
Yeah.
Let me answer the question because out of fairness, because I took it. Down syndrome baby is usually someone who's come in to work through stuff in the physical reality and wants to be undisturbed. What's he doing? We don't really know. We can't relate. That's not the only reason, but that's a primary reason. He has stuff to work through. She may be working through for the family. Okay. I just say one quick thing about karma since we talked about that. Karma is a lie. The idea of karma is somehow there's a punishment for some kind of wrongness. Okay, I got that. The truth about karma is that in the third dimensional reality, on a non-physical plane, when someone died, there were these lords guarding, this is out there, these non-physical lords called the lords of karma. And by the way, we are all some of them. And anyone we didn't forgive, anytime we didn't forgive ourselves, we'd sort of, and then there were definitely sabotaging factors too, because sabotage is another kind of program that runs. And you kind of get slapped back in there. Oh, why don't you go back and redo it? Oh, let's just memory wipe you. Go back, redo it. Oh yeah, you're all in love. You'll do it again. But that's an old program. It's just a program. It's not real. So that program gets wiped. What we do have is cause and effect. That is a universal law, and that still exists. So if I hate on someone for a day, the next day they're going to hate on me back. Or if I do something, that energy, if I steal, which I don't, that energy of theft is now in my field. And therefore, within the next, usually 24, 48 hours now, less than that, the energy of theft is in my field. It's radiated out from me. I did an act of theft in this example. As it radiates through the field, law of attraction, it's going to attract back to me. There's going to be a theft in my personal reality. From that perspective, karma is real. But it's not karma. It's cause and effect. And that's a universal law, and it still does govern us. All right, I'm going to talk really, since I don't have time too much, I'm going to say this. Please know that I'll say real fast about the dimensions. Third dimensional reality is what we talked about, right? Our old way of living. Fourth dimensional reality is where we start accepting and integrating the non-physical world and all concepts. The concept of time and linear time, the concept that this could even be real. The concept of angels, guides, guardians, people and animals who have crossed over that we can connect with. All of that exists in a non-physical realm, and it is real. That's fourth dimension. We start integrating that. We start working with it, realizing the realness of it. We start playing with it. Who likes to manifest? I love manifestation. It's fun, right? It's fun. Ooh, can I see a purple car? That would be fun. I do that just for the fun of it, right? Okay, that's on 4D. 5D is where you start becoming your own master. You start realizing I can work with the non-physical world. I can still play with angels and guides. I can connect with dead people. I use the word dead because it's so loose to me. They're not dead. You know what I mean? You start playing, but you still have a physical body. It's not outside of you. You start working with the quantum field and divine intelligence to clear out all this stuff that you don't want anymore and re-anchor into a new reality. And you know when you're dealing with 5D people because when you're around them, what happens? Well, you're happier. You feel inspired. You feel excited. You get optimistic. Things like that happen, right? You laugh more. There's more things to look forward to. You don't feel heavy or drained or dense or unhappy or depressed or fearful. Ugh. Who wants that? Aren't we done with that? So beyond 5D, there are a lot of other dimensions of reality. And all of these dimensions are accessible from 5D. Because 5D is the last, really, for the most part, real physical reality. And those things have physicality, but not in the same way. Like energy is physical. Energy is a real thing. Thoughts are real things. It's just, universal laws are real things, but they're not things in the same way. So we can start accessing them, but here's the key. They all correlate to the DNA. So the more of your DNA is activated, the more dimensions of reality you can access. Does this make sense? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I want to tell you, if I didn't tell you already, Wendy, will you go around?
Sure.
Here's what I have to offer you, so we can stay in touch if you would like, is some free classes on learning about your dormant DNA and how to activate it. There's a free class. If you give me your name and email address. If we can't read it, we can't send it to you, and we won't even bother trying. We have free classes and healings for people and animals, because I do a ton of stuff with animals, and a lot of stuff on starseeds. Who identifies as a starseed? Anyone? Who's here tomorrow? Well, tomorrow I'm doing something on starseeds and benevolent extraterrestrials. That's at, I think, 2 o'clock. Is that 2 o'clock? So you can join me. But there's a whole class on that, learning about your starseed ancestry and what it is to be a light worker. So if you want to give us your contact information, Wendy has the clipboard. You want to make sure we can read that.